Welcome to Making Our Way Forward, a podcast where we share compelling life stories and learn from the experience of everyday entrepreneurs. At NACCE, we celebrate diversity and invite you to join the conversation as we talk to entrepreneurs and leaders from all walks of life. We hope that by telling their stories, we bring you inspiration, empower you to take action, and ignite entrepreneurship in your community. Welcome to the Making Our Way Forward podcast. We're excited to be joined by two NACCE champions today. One is a leader at one of the community colleges serving a large population in a rural community, and the other is one of the students that's benefited from this leadership. So I'm excited to have two guests today, and I'm going to begin with Dr. Jerry Edmonds, who's been a good friend of mine for many years and is somebody that I admire and look up to. And why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners around the world who may not know who you are and what experience brought you to this place, the work you're doing now.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Corbin, and you're absolutely right. You and I have been friends now for many years, and I just value that friendship, and I value NACCE. And so I first of all want to thank NACCE for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. My career started in corporate. It really began with IBM a number of years ago, a long time ago, and have always been in the business realm. Upon leaving IBM, started a sales and marketing career with Johnson & Johnson back in the early 90s in pharmaceutical sales and sales management. And after retiring from Johnson & Johnson a few years ago now, I began my career as a small business center director within the North Carolina Community College system at Halifax Community College. And it was during that time, and that was back in 2014, but it was during that time that as small business center director, I was really looking for a partner in terms of entrepreneurship and how we may go beyond small business development and really expand into entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset. So what I did was I stumbled across NACCE somehow, joined your certificate program there, and really got to know what NACCE was about, and that's what really started my entrepreneurship journey in higher education. So I currently serve as the Vice President of Workforce and Community Engagement at Vance Granville Community College. And in that capacity, I service a few areas. One is workforce development, as the name implies. The second is community engagement. And then third, importantly, is marketing. So we are in the process of working with many organizations in developing a new model for our marketing program, which we look to be more entrepreneurial in scope as a community college, and really lean on marketing consultants to help us to move forward in our entrepreneurial journey. So once again, I'm just so pleased to have the opportunity to work, Dr. Corbin, with you and your team, and to attend your conferences. The conference out in Minnesota last month was phenomenal, and I could just go on and on about the relationship with NACCE and the great work that you and your team have across the nation.
Well, we appreciate that, and it really is that members serving members. You know, we all learn from each other, and one of the wonderful assets that we have, your college is about 45 minutes from NACCE's headquarters, which is just outside of Raleigh in Cary, North Carolina. So it puts us in close proximity. So you had reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and invited me to a ribbon cutting. And that's where I had a chance to meet our other guest, Serena Aycock, who I was just so impressed. So I will set the stage, and then Serena, I want you to introduce yourself. But I drove out there. I saw our good friend Tom Rue, who is the CEO of NC Idea. You're one of his board members, so it's a small world in entrepreneurship and serving on the Black Entrepreneurship Council is so important. And that's a whole other discussion we could get into about the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. But one of the things I was really impressed with arriving at your site is that you had an entrepreneurship club and an entrepreneurship space, but you decided to really lean into that and dedicate it. So you had the mayor was there. I mean, everybody was masked and socially distant as much as possible. But what you did is you celebrated really the repurposing of a space that was probably underutilized. It was getting some value, but with COVID, we had to pivot. And so as you are facilitating the remarks and were kind enough to let me say a few words, you asked, does anybody else want to say anything? And I was so impressed because Ms. Aycock just piped up and introduced herself. And I thought, wow, that is somebody who has such poise and presence. And I will let you introduce yourself and share with our listeners a bit about your background, because honestly, you are the reason that I do the work that I do. And I know that Dr. Edmonds does the work that he does. So share with us a bit about your journey and where you're headed and how Vance Granville is helping you get there.
My name is Serena Aycock. I am the senator at the South Campus of Vance Granville Community College. I have been going to the community college for maybe 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I never really wanted to go back to college. During the pandemic, I said, well, let me find something productive to do because I'm just sitting home, really not going nowhere but work because I am an essential worker. So I went back to school and now I'm running with full force. I absolutely love Vance Granville Community College because it has made it accessible for people that's in their 30s, their 40s, and also geared to the young people who are going for early college. I take nothing away from that. Matter of fact, this has been the best experience that I have in my entire life. I am so excited about graduating next year in the spring semester that, I'm late, but not denied. And the help of Dr. Dean Thomas, she's very inspirational sometimes when I feel kind of like, hey, this is a struggle, this is a lot on my plate. I go in there, she encouraged me and stuff like that. So what I'm gearing towards is mental health. I believe that's very prominent right now in this world. I mean, it's people walk around acting like everything is okay, but in the inside, we're not okay. And it's okay to say that we're not okay sometimes. And the fact that now that I work with mental illness and I went back to school, it intrigues me. It made me want to know, why do people relapse? Why do people do the things that they do? And me, I have a big heart. And if I can help one person, I feel like I've done a great job done.
It's not only inspirational, but it's courageous. And that's one of the things when you and I spoke briefly, at the event that was organized at the college, you talked about your passion. And I think what we teach and what we try to encourage people to do is not to shop solutions, but look for problems and how can you be a part of the solution? And thinking about the entrepreneurial mindset of how can you come up with new approaches where people who feel disconnected, and I mean, honestly, I can't think of anybody who's being probably forthright that has not been affected by this pandemic. We've been disconnected. It's frightening. To some degree, all of our families are touched in that way. So I think it's good for people to remember too that entrepreneurship is not just selling products and services. It can be creating social entrepreneurship businesses. In fact, one of the things I know about Dr. Edmonds and his family is they do a lot of charitable work. They have an outing that they plan every year. And I don't know if you want to speak a bit about that and maybe the intersection of entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, because I think it really relates to Serena's passion and what we hear from people all over the country of having a dream and a vision and of how to make the world a better place, how to address a problem. Maybe speak about that from your professional expertise, but also what you're doing and your family's mission.
Absolutely, would love to. And let me just say, as you just stated, that Miss Aycock's her story is just so inspirational, and it's right on point with social entrepreneurship. We have always maintained Advanced Granville Community College and within the North Carolina Community College system that entrepreneurship is about more than just making revenue and about capital accumulation. It is about making a difference socially as well. And so one of my passions is our foundation. It's the Edmonds Tennis and Education Foundation. And you mentioned Tom Rue earlier, the CEO of NC Idea. Through a gracious grant from Mr. Rue, our foundation is in the process of starting an entrepreneurship club as well. So what we're trying to do through that organization is through the sport of tennis, to use that sport as kind of the conduit to students just be having a network of other students determining their goals and their aspirations and let them be creative entrepreneurially. I mean, research shows that the human brain is most creative between the ages of 12 and 24. So that's really who we're leaning into and listening to as they're going about sharing what they want to do entrepreneurially, very similar to what Ms. Aycock shared with us in terms of mental health. So here at the community college, we have a middle school entrepreneurship camp every year that's very, very popular. We had approximately 20 students from around the area engage in that entrepreneurship camp this summer. It was very, very successful. On the final day of the camp, all of the students are segmented into groups, and they have to present, and they have to actually film a commercial. And I'll tell you, I had the privilege of sitting in on those commercials, and it's just amazing what our youth come up with and how they've already created this entrepreneurial mindset that those of us that are beyond that 24, 25-year-old age, I think are still trying to catch up to. They're able to have more flexibility, to show more innovative ideas and things of that nature. So we are. It is. I'm really blessed to have a profession and a career that does intersect with a foundation that's near and dear to my heart. And the foundation partners with the Boys and Girls Clubs, with the Salvation Army, with a number of local 4-H, with a number of local youth-based organizations to really make a difference. And that's what it's all about, is making a difference in the lives of these youth.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on the point too about sort of community, and what we talk about is the ecosystem. So we always say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it's really tapping into different strengths. But you hit on another point too, I think, which is one of the things I fell in love with at my first community college, where I worked also as a vice president, 8 years ago or so now, but was really the open access. Because I always thought in my mind, and I think probably what my parents told me, you go to college, you have one shot, don't mess it up. That's it. You got to finish in 4 years. And then I realized that wasn't true. Some people aren't ready to go to college at 18 or 19. Now that seems a little more commonplace with the pandemic. But I have seen people, Ms. Aycock talked about, she was sitting there, she's working, so she's not sitting there doing nothing, but thinking she could do more. And she saw your community college, Advanced Granville, because you got a great reputation of workforce development, among other things. And she felt welcomed and she felt honored. And I saw that at the event that we attended together. And I think what community colleges do very well, and you model very well at your college, is everyone's included. So it's the idea that if we are going to lead, whether it is a foundation or it's a business enterprise or it's a school, that if we really honor people, that's part of our crazy quilt, if you will, of how we stitch things together and we thread it through. And so I'd love to hear from both of you, maybe how you think about entrepreneurial mindset. I know the club at the college focuses on it. I know Ice House, which is part of a wonderful training program, I think many of us have been involved in. But maybe we can start with you, Dr. Edmonds, and then Serena, you could share a little bit about what entrepreneurial mindset means to you, and maybe could inspire some people listening to us to learn more about it and maybe think about how they could adopt that in their own lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what we really seek to do in terms of creating that entrepreneurial mindset is having entrepreneurship evolve from being looked at as a business concept to that of more innovation. So, I often say that you can usurp the word entrepreneurship in many cases with innovation. And what that means on a community college like ours, or any higher education venue, is that English, for example, or the arts, or whatever the discipline is that a youth may be majoring in, that entrepreneurship and innovation can play a role in that. It's not just about making the money, but it's about how do our instructors, how do our professors and our staff, how do we as administrators, how do we all do what we're doing in a more creative and innovative way? So in essence, that's what, in my mind, entrepreneurial mindset is all about. It's as you said, Dr. Corbin, not being afraid to look at those hard questions and finding solutions. That's really what it's about, as opposed to just going out and saying, "Hey, I'm going to develop this product and I'm going to make millions of dollars," and that's there's nothing wrong with that, but that's that's certainly not the end game as it pertains to creating an entrepreneurial mindset.
Very well said. So, Serena, do you want to go ahead? What does having an entrepreneurial mindset mean to you, and maybe how this inspires you as you think about the business that you're in the process of creating?
What I think about the entrepreneur mindset is I think that it's a great gift that the community college have brought. In that aspect, it just gives us students something to look forward to. It's not, to me, all about, in my mind, it's not all about the money. It's about the growth and learning and the education where I may mess up one time, but then again, I can learn from what I've learned, learn from my mistakes and everything. And I love Napoleon Hill. And one of his famous quotes was that our greatest failure can be our biggest achievement. So, with that being said, going into this, I want to learn. I want to be able to get all the knowledge that I can. And not only, like you said, think about it as a business, but I want to be a part of the solution in my community. I want to be the one that somebody can um, come and talk to me about and reach out. This is so touching to me, and I'm going to be very transparent if I can. So, the reason why mental health is so important to me is because I dealt with depression before, and I had no one to talk to. Um, I had a therapist, but they still wasn't reaching me. And so, when I finally came up out of my depression, and I said, "Wow, I know what it feels like." I know the symptoms. You go to work happy, act like nothing's going on. But when you get home, you got kids, you got to cook, you got dogs, you got responsibility. So how do you juggle this stuff in the years to come? Because it's not going back to the old ways. It's going faster and faster. The economy is going faster and faster. And how can you juggle all that, especially being a single parent? Being a single parent. So me and mental health, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know there's plenty other people, not just women, but men in a diverse community that needs our help. There's other avenues, but that is reason why I have my passion for that, because I want to be able, because there's people out there that deals with mental illness, and I want to be there and be part of the solution. And I see so many come back to the hospital that I work at. I'm like, what happened? I had another downward spiral. Well, let's talk about it. And there's so many patients that have came to me and said, Miss Aycock, thank you. I really thank you, because you don't look at us as just anybody. You treat us like a person. And I take that, and I take it not with a grain of salt, but to let them know that, hey, you are a person. What you think does matter. And you are a person and you are somebody. So like I said, kick rocks and let's get on a good path. The path for success.
Are you really sowing hope, right? And you talked about a lot about the challenges, right? Being a single parent, I mean, that is a lot because you're shouldering the responsibility of the household. You have to provide, you have to do all of these things. What I heard you say too is entrepreneurial mindset is really growth mindset. It's not saying I can't do this because of enlisting all the reasons. It's saying I've got a reason to get up in the morning because I have a job, I have people that need me. And that was my experience of Dr. Edmonds when I met him several years ago. There was a light there, right? It didn't mean that he had any less problems than anyone else, but what he was choosing to do is to lean into being part of the solution. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I think when I think about 2022, and I'm going to ask you both in a minute what you're hopeful for or grateful for or both. I see NACCE as really being able to sort of catalyze and seed some of these sort of, nascent projects where you've got this in your mind as something that you want to move forward with, but maybe you need a few $1,000s. You need obviously the support of the college, but it could make a huge impact for you if you needed to buy tools and equipment or an app or hire somebody to do something. That's really not only the American dream, because I think it's not only just having enough, because certainly depression is an equal opportunity destroyer. People that are very affluent suffer from it too. And, but what you're saying is you're treating the humanity of people. So as we're kind of winding down our time, I want to thank you for being so kind and so transparent and sharing. And I would love it if you both would close us out with something that you're hopeful about, something you're grateful. So we'll start with you, Dr. Edmonds, and then Serena, you can give us the final closeout for this podcast episode.
Well, I'll start by saying I am just so hopeful and impressed with Miss Aycock, and just so proud to be associated with a community college that's making an impact in our students' lives, and Serena is a prime example of that. So I'm definitely excited to see her businesses grow and to see her continue to grow as a person. I'm equally excited about our entrepreneurial pursuits here at Vance Granville Community College. Dr. Corbin, as you mentioned, the Entrepreneurial Center is now open on our South Campus, and we're also starting our entrepreneurial club. So we have students that will provide that support as well that Ms. Aycock was speaking of when it's something that we're all working on together. I think that provides the camaraderie and the collaboration that's oftentimes necessary for us as humans to keep going forward. So those are a few of the things that I'm just so hopeful for in terms of what entrepreneurship can bring to Vance Granville Community College. I'm thankful for the continued partnership with NACCE. As you all on this call are aware of, Vance Granville Community College back in the first quarter of this year signed the President's Pledge for Entrepreneurship. So I'm grateful to our president, Dr. Rachel Damaris, for having the faith in entrepreneurship and our ability to really enrich our students' lives through entrepreneurship. So I'm just looking forward to 2022 and all that it will bring for us here in the region.
Serena, do you want to go ahead and close us out with your thoughts?
First, I want to say thank y'all for having me on the podcast. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the entrepreneur club that we have, as well as Vance Granville Community College. I mean, I can't say nothing bad. Like I really, when I hit the ground, I started running. I was into everything. Like I'm into the sorority there. I have a 4.0 GPA average. So it's late but not denied. And this community college, I'm telling you, like I have a senior. he wants to go to a community college. I said, why don't you come over here with mom? He was like, no, I don't want to be out there with you, mama. That's fine. But let me tell you the opportunities that you have that one-on-one experience with the teachers. They send you emails back. It's nothing wrong with going to a university. I'm sure you probably get the same experience, but let's try this first. And I'm just grateful to my higher power, God, who I stay focused with. Without God, I believe I can't do nothing. I do nothing out of self-will. It's him that gives me the power to do all this and giving me the passion to want to serve my community in the best way I can, whether it's the Advanced Grammar Community College, the Entrepreneur Club, with SGA, whether it's my church, the food bank that I volunteer. I thank God for everything.
Well, you are a beautiful person. You both are, inside and out. We've just celebrated Thanksgiving, and I truly want to thank you, along with our producer of this podcast, Natalia Brezhna, who's my colleague and my friend. So I wish everyone listening a good day. Follow their example, follow your passion, do good wherever you can, as much as you can, and think about how you can really be that light for other people.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that listening to this podcast will help you to explore the many ways we might define entrepreneurship. Join us every other Wednesday for more episodes as we celebrate opportunity, learn from one another, and grow together. Subscribe to this podcast, connect with us on social media, and learn more about today's speakers at NACCE.com/podcast. We look forward to making our way forward together with you.
Have you heard about our latest book, Impact Ed: How Community College Entrepreneurship Creates Equity and Prosperity? This is our roadmap for building back better in 50 states and globally. In each chapter, we share the inspiring stories of everyday entrepreneurs and explain how community colleges play a crucial role in their success. Visit us at NACCE.com/impacted to order your copy now and join us in this work.